Hello and welcome to a new video lesson. Today we're talking about my favorite Tudor monarch. Who is this? Well, it's the greatest one according to me. And I'll reveal the name right now. Bit of magic. Ready? Here it is. Boom. Elizabeth I, the greatest Tudor monarch. Why? Well, because of the way she turned things around for her country. Let's find out more. All right. So her ascension was unexpected. What does this mean? Well, she was only 14 when her father died. Her father, you know very well, was Henry VIII. Her mother was Anne Boleyn, and if you saw the previous video by me, you know what happened there. Now, the crown, in accordance with the rules of succession, passed to the male heir, and the son of Henry and his third wife, in this case, was Edward, the son of Henry VIII and Jane Seymour, wife number 3. Edward was only 9 years old. He also had delicate health. He wasn't a very healthy boy, and his reign lasted only about 6 years. He died in 1553. What did he die of? Well, according to the symptoms reported by the doctors at the time, it is possible he died of tuberculosis. The next descendant in line was, based on the succession, was Mary Tudor. But before he died, Edward's protector, the Duke of Somerset, convinced the young king to proclaim an obscure cousin as successor. Why is this? Well, because during his reign, Edward, who had been educated as a Protestant, had allowed many Protestants to arrive, to immigrate into England from the continent. And so to have a new ruler, a new sovereign who was Catholic would be a problem. You see, Mary was Catholic. And so the Duke of Somerset tried to exclude her from the succession. And so they proclaimed Lady Jane Grey. She was Edward's cousin. She was just a pawn. A pawn is this little thing right here. It is the least important piece of a chess set. She was just a pawn in Somerset's political game to keep a Catholic away from the throne. But with the help of the army, Mary Tudor prevailed, became queen, and sentenced Somerset and poor little Lady Jane to death. This is what happened to poor Lady Jane. She was decapitated. This is young Mary Tudor. This is when she was young, and this is when she became old and Queen of England. You would not want to mess with this lady. She was not a kind and forgiving person. She brought back the Catholic rigidity into England, and she reigned from 1553 to 1558, and during her reign she tried to reconcile England with the Catholic Church of Rome. She married a Catholic king, Philip II of Spain. Spain, if you don't remember, is where the Inquisition comes from, the Spanish Inquisition, and systematically prosecuted all non-Catholics. She is remembered as Bloody Mary because of this. When Mary died, the only surviving Tudor was her half-sister Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth was smart. She never proclaimed her religion openly, but was suspected of sympathizing with the Protestants, and she was even imprisoned because they thought that she was an accomplice in a plot to kill Mary. But those who were captured never confessed that she was complicit in this. She was never accused by the members of this conspiracy to kill Mary, and so if nobody accused her, it was never clear that she was guilty. And in the end, Mary could not decide in favor of Elizabeth's execution. Why? Well, because they had the same father. They were both Tudors. So in 1558, A very surprised Elizabeth found herself on the throne of England. She had been in the Tower of London, the prison. So this was why her ascension to the throne was unexpected. This is a young Elizabeth looking very surprised. She ascended to the throne of England aged 25. Okay, what did she do? Well, she had lots of work to do. Elizabeth inherited a kingdom in chaos. The domestic situation was one of economic bankruptcy, poverty, and hate between Catholics and Protestants. The international situation was even worse. England was potentially a heretic state, demonized by the Church, and economically very interesting for other countries like Spain and France, which wanted to extend their economy over sea commerce. England was a port towards the West Indies, towards America. It was of absolute importance for Elizabeth to marry someone from a powerful country to get urgent political, economic, and military support. So Spain and France and others all offered this in exchange for her to choose to marry somebody from their royal line, a prince or someone from them, so that they could extend their property, their land, to England. And so she didn't. She did not choose to marry anyone. It was very important, and so she didn't. And why? Well, only a woman could do this. Only a woman could pull this off, we say, when it's something difficult and you succeed. Only a woman could do this. It was a very unusual thing, you see, for a fragile woman to be the ruler of a country. Elizabeth was expected to get married and pass all duties to a man, the new king. This concept was so fundamental that everyone, including England's potential enemies, France and Spain, were certain it was only a question of time. And so they sent their best candidates, their suitors, the people they wanted Elizabeth to consider to marry. And the choice of king would determine the political position of England. And then it would be possible to go on with alliances and, of course, wars. And so they waited. For them, this was the only possible way for things to go. And waited. And Elizabeth made them wait, always promising she was going to choose a husband and never deciding. And so she gained the time she needed to restore her kingdom. She established Protestantism under the Book of Common Prayer, which was a re-edition of the Book of Common Prayer, which had already been published under Edward. Borrowed money and made new coins to repair the economy using cheaper metals, and started rebuilding the army and the navy, and reunited her country. She went for a rule of religious tolerance to a certain point. Of course, anybody who was a dissenter was automatically potentially a traitor and was treated as of consequence. But her idea was that of bringing the people together under one religion, and she was willing to compromise. And the Book of Common Prayer is just this, a compromise between Protestant and Catholic religion. There was only one question which remained unsolved. An unmarried queen governing a country was very irregular. I am married to the people of England. Elizabeth used her femininity as an instrument of political control, and then used it again as a religious symbol. Separated from the Church of Rome, England needed a new iconic symbol which represented the good favor of God. The English felt a bit lost. And Queen Elizabeth understood this perfectly and had the perfect solution. Look at this picture. She used heavy makeup to make her skin look very white, and wore clothes which contained symbols of virginal purity. Look at the pearls and the color of the wonderful dress she's wearing, white. And the red you see is the Tudor symbol, little roses, white and red. This picture is full of symbolism. Look at the little wings behind her, like an angel. This is a religious icon. She had multiple copies of pictures like this circulating Europe, and so she started to be called the Virgin Queen. You can see the reference to the Holy Virgin Mary is evident and intentional. Sir Walter Raleigh, an explorer, nominated an American territory to honor Elizabeth and called it Virginia. Her rule was from 1558 to 1603. That's 45 years. The devastated country she inherited had become a strong, powerful nation under her rule when she died at the age of 69. How did she die? Well, I told you this in class. I'm repeating it here again. The makeup she wore. She died of blood poisoning caused by the heavy makeup she used to make her face white. At that time, white makeup was made with lead, a poisonous metal, one of the most poisonous things you can put in your body. It does not go away, it accumulates, and slowly, this is what killed her. All right. So this is the end of the lesson. I hope you've remembered the important things. I left out an important battle, which is the Invincible Armada and the stuff about Mary, Queen of Scots, because in class we still have to see that film, but you can keep updated. I'm going to post something just about that next. Have a nice day.